goal today is to share a perspective on XR from Intuitive and from the perspective of the existing product base, and thinking about the adoption that we have so far, but the innovation that's now possible on top of that adoption. And just to refresh, I think it's worth going back to this fundamental premise of robot-assisted surgery, and that it really is a form of minimally invasive surgery. And there are many benefits for patients for this type of surgery over traditional open surgery, but the technique can be quite hard on surgeons, can demand a lot of skill, and then also just be very difficult in terms of the stresses on the body. And so robotic assisted surgery is an alternate technique for minimally invasive surgery that makes use of a robot system to basically drive the laparoscopic tools and instruments. And here we're just showing a video of one of the very early Da Vinci systems. But the key innovation that a robot like this allows is the ability to introduce an interface for the surgeon that is fundamentally the intuitive interface, this console. And an interesting historical footnote, and it's in the literature of the day, that the early prototypes of the surgeon interface that were being explored by Intuitive were actually using the VR headsets and something called a data glove, grounded hand input device. And the early research showed that those systems were not sufficient for the surgeon's skill to be extended into the control of the robot. And so the early founders of Intuitive built this console, and I don't think it's a coincidence that it's a rather large version of it, but the console really reflects the headsets that are being worn today at a certain level. But it also then includes this physical interface. And I think that's a key element of sometimes we definitely think about haptics, but the haptics is both the feel, but also the application of your forces and movement intentions that are then reflected in the robot system. So this surgical console really, from my perspective, reflects the state of the art in XR technology for surgery that was introduced by Intuitive in the late 1990s and 2000. And so the purpose of it is to help improve patient outcomes, to extend and enhance the skill of the surgeon. And from where we were then to today, we actually now are seeing significant growth in the utilization of the Da Vinci system for a wide range of procedures. And this I think reflects many changes in evolution in the market, but it demonstrates the effectiveness of this console, of this initial XR interface. And even to the point where in some procedures in across the globe, it is now the standard of care, for instance, in prostatectomies and more and more in nephrectomies as well. And so today there are over 8.5 million procedures that have been conducted with this system. So that really represents, I think, a significant accomplishment for XR technology, and I think it's worth thinking about how we then innovate on top of that adoption as we go forward, and how can we better serve customers. And another element of the evolution for Intuitive is the introduction of new platforms. So the console itself is still standardized, but we're beginning to see the use of dual consoles. So thinking about networking and other innovation there. Now introducing a single port system and a no port system, the Ion, for lung biopsies. And again, from an adoption point of view, we're seeing these systems now being introduced and at different levels of use in the market, but they all represent a potential for application of XR technologies. One of the things that we highlighted is that within the existing console, we're able to introduce innovations that are not necessarily requiring the latest in VR headsets, but allow us to augment the visual experience of the surgeon. For instance, here we're showing a development that allows us to allows the surgeon to select an image that represents a three-dimensional view of the CT scans of the patient that were done before the surgery, and now can be called up and used as a visual reference by the surgeon. Another example in the Ion system, we're showing here how the surgeon is guiding the endoluminal device into the lung, and how there is now a visual overlay of the lung that the surgeon is able to experience. And again, it's another example of an XR technology talking about augmenting the view of the surgeon and giving them a different perspective. It doesn't necessarily need to be immersive. So the other point that I'm making in this presentation is that the platform itself represents, is an innovation. But at Intuitive, we also know that the success of robot-assisted surgery is related to an ecosystem that exists and addresses both addresses regulatory and training, other aspects of marketing, et cetera, and that all of these areas represent opportunities for introduction of XR technologies that can create efficiencies and better utilization of these systems. And so we really think not just about the surgeon within that ecosystem, but also the patients and then the staff and administration of the facilities. And if we begin to look at the implementation and the access that is going to be possible, the networking effect is now giving us access, is allowing surgeons, for instance, with the My Intuitive app to access their data and also begin to access learning through mobile devices, their laptops and mobile phones. And then Intuitive Telepresence is a relatively new capability that allows networked connections to the console and creates different types of products, being able to do casting of surgeries, telementoring, et cetera. And during the COVID crisis, we've seen the use of telepresence at Intuitive more than triple. And so innovation in learning and training is a key opportunity for XR. And to highlight the impact that we think is possible at Intuitive, just look at the connectivity of our system. So over 90% of our systems are part of the Intuitive Cloud. Our education systems, we now have over 12,000 subscribers for our SimNow system, with over 34,000 hours of training in the last 12 months. So we're absolutely seeing how this augmented reality capability can enhance training and access to training. And we know that access creates faster learning and learning for more people. The other thing that is interesting to highlight, and I alluded to this in the 10-minute talk, is there will be a need to document skill and the access to skill. So one of the there's an area of research now at Intuitive and also in the academic community, where we are able to measure and document directly the movements of the surgeon. And although there's not a this is not directly XR, it can become a really important tool for understanding skill and being able to demonstrate that XR-enabled training technologies are actually building skill that's equivalent to the current practice. And so we have a number of different ways that we're exploring the objective performance indicators, and ultimately we want to be able to show that the training that we conduct through XR technologies is actually matching and getting the outcomes that are typically seen through practice patterns over time. So you can see here just some examples of how we're beginning to document performance indicators and exploring how they can be used to demonstrate skill, not just from practice, but also from training and training from XR technologies. And then you can begin to think very creatively about how these technologies can enhance training, not just in simulation of procedures, but also in gamification and other types of technologies. And so this is an active area of exploration in the market, and something that Intuitive is also paying attention to. So that's my the talk that I have to give today. I am open to any conversations, any questions that anyone who's watching might have.